I have this quest to make the boat go 41 miles an hour. It's really just an arbitrary number, but it seems like I should be able to get there. And so one of the things that I want to do to get there is to make the boat as light as possible. So there used to be a great big battery that sat back here, and it probably weighs, I don't know, 40 or 50 pounds. You can now buy these lithium polymer battery jump packs pretty cheaply, or you could do what I did and found a couple of them for $20 at pawn shops. In addition to starting this Tohatsu 40 horsepower motor, it also has to run my electric trolling motor. So I haven't had a chance to test this out. I did put it all together. I'm going to show it to you, and I invite all you people, the flamers, the haters, and also just the constructive criticism people, to tell me what you think. Is this going to work? And I'll also tell you that in a small boat like this, having the trolling motor in first or second speed is all that I need to do. I'll also tell you that I plunked the trolling motor into my utility sink, and I was able to run it on number one for more than a half an hour, and it was still going just fine at that point. So I do know that there's quite a bit of capacity in these battery packs to run an electric trolling motor like that. So let me show you what I've done. I built a box that fits underneath here. So I'm using two of these packs right now. This one over here is only connected to the starter motor. And then an accessory I'll show you. This one here is connected to everything else, including the trolling motor. The thought is that even if I run this one down to zero on the trolling motor, I'll still be able to use that one to start the big engine. So there wasn't a lot in here to start with. Some previous owner had built this console in here. I put in the Raymarine Dragonfly 4. This was a light switch. This went to a bilge pump, which I actually took out. We'll see. You're not even supposed to need a bilge pump because this is self-bailing, but we'll see. I took that out, and I added this panel in here because I needed some switches and I needed some voltmeters. So this part isn't really that exciting, but you can see if I turn the key on, there's power going to the motor. I don't want to turn it over a lot because I don't think there's any oil if there's no gas in it, but you can hear it turns over fine, and it has no problem starting it. I hooked that, I mentioned an accessory, so the starter battery is hooked up to this switch, which has a voltmeter on it, and you can see it's putting out 12 volts right now. This also has a USB charger on it, which I think is nice because, as I mentioned in my video on the Raymarine, it'll mirror the data onto any sort of device, like your telephone. So if you wanted to charge it up, you can charge it up there. I don't know. It was the same price for the voltmeter with the USB plugs as it was for not, so I went with it. So that's the only reason for this switch right now, is to just give a readout on the voltmeter. I don't know if it takes a lot of power, but it's probably more than zero. So you can turn that off. These other switches are hooked up to the auxiliary battery. This one I'm going to do first. That will turn on the fish locator, or the depth finder, whatever. And the reason I put a switch on there is that anytime you plug that battery in, this thing would have just turned on by itself. So I didn't want to just rely on the on-off switch because it just had a habit of turning on all the time. So with having a switch here, you'll be able to shut that down and keep it off. This other switch then is hooked up to the voltmeter, so I can see what sort of voltage is in the auxiliary battery pack. But that is also hooked into a relay that's inside of my wooden box down here. I'll show you in a second. There's just a 12 volt relay in here, they're fairly common, and I didn't want to run the high voltage or high current for the motor all the way from this battery pack, down the gunnel to the switch panel and then back again. So what a relay allows you to do is run the power right from this battery pack to one end of the relay, and then there's a real small wire. I don't know if I can find it. It's actually like speaker cable for a real. It's a tiny one here, and that's what actually runs into the switch. So when you turn the switch on, you'll probably be able to hear the relay turn on, and that relay then that closes the switch and sends power out to the electric motor. So as you can see, I can turn that off from the switch here. The thought being that when I get to wherever I'm going, if I'm trolling, I can put that down, essentially point it straight, and then use the steering wheel and the big motor to turn it from where I'm sitting here, be able to turn it on and off. Not a huge deal, obviously. I can reach back, this handle extends, and it would be fairly easy for me to manipulate it from where I'm sitting as well, but well, I don't know, this is more fun. This one goes up to 11. It was actually kind of difficult finding the right wire to connect everything up with. This, you can see this starter wire, see if is really thick. This is, I don't know, this is like a 2 or a 4 gauge wire. Not only that, but it's super flexible. So although you can find some really heavy duty wire, it's really stiff copper. This one's also thicker, maybe a 14 gauge or whatever. It's thicker than your normal DC wire that you're using. So after looking around, what I ended up doing was I had an old like a dryer, a 240 volt dryer that has some good gauge, 4 of them going through it. And so 2 of those wires then come out of my box here and go. I have another kind of like splitter box down here. So this goes to the starter, and this was really because I couldn't quite figure out how to connect those wires together anyways. This connects that. I also have, so off the starter wire, I have some alligator clips that come off. If for some reason my lithium battery is dead, I can just unclip these, clip them on a spare battery that I got, and I'm good to go. So it's sort of a backup. Or if I wanted to power something else, I can plug those in, and if the other battery pack's plugged in, that'll work. And then these 2 wires are going to go, and they go into the electric motor. Solar panel, which is, I just had an extra one lying around, believe it or not. This is, I actually ordered 2 by accident. That was a problem. This is rated to 30 watts, and of course it doesn't put out 30 watts all the time, but that's sort of the standard to measure them. So it's a decent size solar panel. I have no idea how much this motor consumes on number 1. I suspect it's probably more than 30 watts, but maybe not. I originally had intended to mount it right here on the back of the seat using a couple of these clips, and these actually do go around here just fine, and I can get it to hook on there. I was hoping I would be able to swivel the panel back so when it's not in use, it will sit back like that, and then when I needed it, I can swivel it out like that. The problem that I had was that these are just too grippy, and they don't swivel on there like I wanted them to. Before I do anything too radical, what I'm going to do is just use the solar panel non-mounted just not yet. You can see in my box, the other thing in here is a solar charger. And this charger then puts out about 12 volts, and I cut off the ends of the AC. Well, so it's an AC to DC adapter, so you plug it into your wall and then it puts out 12 volts of DC current is how you normally charge up these things. So I just cut off the ends and I ran the solar charger to those ends, and then that will go right into that. Let's see if I can pull this out. I can't really. You're just gonna have to trust me that this now is plugged into this battery pack on the end, and then it goes into the solar charger. And I have tested that out in the sun. The solar panel going through the charger will charge a depleted battery pack up to full capacity. So it works. I tried it. Don't tell me it doesn't work. It's possible, I don't know, that I can run, if I'm only using the motor somewhat sporadically and have this thing in full sunshine, that it will forever keep the auxiliary battery charged while I'm out there. It's sort of my hope, although it's not essential, because I don't think I'm going to run out of power, or even if I do, I don't really care. And if it is effective, I think what I'm going to do to mount this thing on this bar is, because it won't swivel on the bar, I think I can drill out, there's some rivets here that hold this bar in place, and then this whole bar will actually swivel, and then I just need to have some sort of locking mechanism, so when I get it to the angle that I want, I can just drive a pin in there or whatever so that it stays. Yeah, just for the record, so this was my initial diagram I drew while I was in church. This is a more complete diagram, which I get doesn't mean anything to you right now, but what I found was that it's taken me, I've spent more than 40 hours on this project, finding the batteries, thinking about how I'm going to do it, build the box, and a lot of trial and error, wiring things up, cutting them apart, wiring them up, cutting them up. So finally, I just had to draw a diagram because it just kept doing it wrong, and that helped a lot. So, there's one more little thing too that I put in here, and that's down here. There's just another block down here that auxiliary battery goes into on the side, and then I can just plug as many. There's a bunch of little spade connectors, so I can plug whatever I want into there too. And I got the lights also work there too, and they're wired into that. So, anyways, one of my concerns is I don't know what's going to happen to that battery pack that's hooked up to the motor. Generally, the motor will be charging a battery, and I'm not sure that. I'm hoping that the battery pack that's in here now has some sort of circuitry to prevent it from harming it somehow. I don't know if it will or not. It may burst into flames. We'll see. I do know that Whistler brand battery pack is really futzy with, it doesn't like my solar panel, and it doesn't even like to be plugged into the cigarette lighter in a car. It only liked being plugged into the house, so I can't plug that one into the solar panel. I'll probably replace it, use a splitter, plug them both into the solar panel, but for right now, that one's not going to be plugged into anything. I'll probably have to, I don't know, whatever. But if you think it's not going to work, I'd love to hear from you before I give it a try, just so I can kind of hear what you guys think won't work about it. So we'll do a real world test here fairly soon, but it's going to be another couple of months before the ice goes out. Anyways, that's it for now. Bye-bye.